morning. Today's gonna be our second day of post-emerge corn herbicide application, so we got a nice and early start. There's a slight chance of rain this afternoon. They're not calling for much. They've actually backed it down even more. It says 0 for total estimated amount, but at the same time it shows it's going to be raining by about late afternoon. I've learned that you have to interpret these forecasts as if there's a chance of rain, it could either rain anywhere between 0 and 5 inches. I have no idea what this white stuff is. I noticed on our field here that we had a really thin spot of soybeans yesterday, and this morning there's this whitish residue on top. No, it did not frost last night. I don't think it even got below 60 degrees. I'm kind of scratching my head what that is. I even turned around to come back and look at this because it was so peculiar. Some kind of a fungus. Interesting. I don't think that's off of a tree. There's a strong correlation between whatever this fungus is and my emergence of beans in this spot. Because where my beans are horrible, the fungi is plentiful. Oh well, that is both above my pay grade and my intellect. And I've also got bigger fish to fry today. Okay, just like taking a shower, brushing your teeth, and putting on deodorant, it's time for our daily chores. Gotta throw some fuel and deafen the Hagee. Once the Hagee's topped off with diesel fuel, I'm going to move it over to the spigot so I can run the garden hose up and fill up the rinse tank. I've been purging the boom with the clean water from the rinse tank at the end of the day to make sure I don't have any of that atrazine settling out in my boom, causing a hot spot or a blockage first thing in the morning. Yesterday I used the entire 100-gallon rinse tank, which also reminds me that I need to reprime my boom once we get going. The fuel gauge doesn't work, so you got to use the visual one. All the way to the top. I may have 200, 300, maybe 400 gallons left over in the tanker from my antics yesterday. I'm gonna go pick up more first thing this morning. You do want to make sure even a minimal amount is mixed up. It's in 2 tanks. I've got both valves open. I'm just gonna go ahead and agitate to the front tank. It'll keep throwing the product forward and it'll even out. It really doesn't matter so long as the product is getting mixed and the pump isn't running dry. So I'm just gonna turn that on. Came up to the top of the front compartment to show you guys what that agitates inside. Keep in mind, that's the idle speed. If I had that engine running wide open, it would be violently mixing that. Not necessary, just kind of trying to cover my bases a little bit. When you're getting hot loads or pre-mix loads from a retailer, that's all there is to it. Give them a call, 15-20 minutes heads up when you're headed that way. They'll have everything ready to go so long as you don't have to wait on another truck to load. You'll be hot and ready to hit the field once you get your chemical. Looks like another local retailer slash cooperative is sitting outside ready to spray first thing this morning. It's gonna be another beautiful day until the rain comes in. Although I'm pretty sure it's always beautiful up here because we're in God's country. North of Route 16, big, flat, black, 160 plus acre fields. As always, Helena is a busy place first thing this morning. Tankers and tender trailers all over. Okay, we're loaded. Time to head back south. I know a lot of you would probably love to see the automated mixing system there and just kind of witness the entire process. I would really like to show it to you, but at the same time, I've learned that that place is a circus. There's so much going on. The best thing I can do as a customer who's getting a hot load is pull my truck in, shut it off, and get out of their way. It's really not the time of year to follow them around and try and film some kind of documentary. I like to keep them focused on their job, and they've got a lot of work to do. On top of loading out corn herbicide, soybean herbicides, and 32% nitrogen for people's side dressing, they've also got bulk shipments of chemical coming in. They've got surfactants, more fertilizer, all these different things to keep track of. There's just a lot of stuff going on at one of those retail locations, especially a place like that that you'd almost consider a mega plant. You got a lot of respect for them. They work hard and they got a lot to keep straight. Field I sprayed yesterday afternoon. Not bad work for an amateur. I'm back at the main farm. Pretty much ready to pull the sprayer over and fill up and head just a half mile to the west and start spraying corn. I do need to run one more errand first. I'm just gonna go ahead and turn this on, let it mix up and agitate while I'm gone. No reason to risk letting this atrazine settle out of the Acuron GT. Atrazine is not a normal part of Acuron GT. It's an additional product we put into that mix. I'll talk about that later. Here's my destination, just south of Lakeland College, where Helena's custom side dress bar is running on us. I wanted to talk to the operator real quick, so I'm gonna hop out and then I'll let you know what I'm thinking. I just flagged down the applicator, chatted with him really quickly. I need to get back to the sprayer, so I'm gonna keep this as short as possible. This is more side dressing of that 32% liquid nitrogen. I talked a lot about it in the previous video. This field is unique because it's our only field that has no nitrogen down ahead of corn planting. Had a lot of tile lines installed last fall, making it rather challenging for an anhydrous bar to get through here. Obviously there's a little bit out there from our phosphate fertilizer that does contain some ammonium. Either way, we're shooting for 230 pounds actual in across the board on this farm. That's a pretty full rate, a nice hefty amount for spring side dress 100%. Like to get out here as soon as possible because this corn will need nitrogen sooner rather than later, especially because there's nothing out here. What I'm exploring in this field and what I discussed with the operator is that I'd like to see a pass at 200 pounds of N, so cut 30 pounds off of the target, and then the pass next to it, I'd like to see at 260 pounds of N, so add 30 pounds to our base rate. What I'm looking for here is to see how efficient we are with our N. Is 230 pounds on the rest of the field too much? Would we be getting more for our money running a 200-pound pass everywhere? Or is there more to be gained by adding more nitrogen to the table and going up to 260? So we obviously won't see the results of this side by side till harvest, but I do kind of want to research this so we can be more economical in the future. I still stand by the fact that fertility management, especially nitrogen, is where farmers in the US have the most room to grow and become more efficient. There's a lot of stuff leaving our fields inadvertently and heading down to the Gulf of Mexico. If we don't make some choices on our own to be more responsible, we could have government regulations telling us what to do before too long. Okay, we're loaded up, heading to a 220 acre field that's just a stone's throw away. I'm gonna spray the outsides, then I'll check in with you. One last thing, check out my cool little party trick. You see my sight tube there in the mirror? I'm gonna pop the agitator on and watch it start to roll that tank through. Off again. On again. 120-foot pass around a 220 acre field equates to about 40 acres, a little bit less than that. 40 acres sprayed and 1,000 gray hairs, so the ratio is not exactly 1-to-1 there. Right now we're out spraying post-emergence herbicides on corn. The corn obviously is a little bit crooked and wavy. You can blame my dad for his planting job. It's really not going to be a detriment at the end of the year other than running some over with the side dress bar and the sprayer. We are spraying the most powerful post-emergence plus residual product in the market, Acuron GT. We're also throwing in an additional 1 pound of atrazine to kind of spice things up and give us a little more firepower with the Callisto synergy, as well as another additional source of residual on top. Acuron GT is basically Halex GT on steroids. That probably does not mean very much to a lot of the non-corn farmers out there. The The inclusion of the bicyclopyrone molecule that's patented by Syngenta, only place in the market you can get it is the Acheron line of herbicides, makes this probably the best post-emergence corn product you can buy. Acheron GT is basically the post-emergence mixture of Acheron. We used Acheron for years as a one-pass pre-emergence herbicide. With the addition of our own sprayer, it just was not logistically possible to continue that on. So we rolled into their post-emergence product because that's what kind of fit my timeline of the sprayer, which is the Acheron GT. In this mixture, you get a full array of Callisto, Dual 2 Magnum, bicyclopyrone, and of course glyphosate to control any broadleaves and grasses out in the field. Although the Callisto and the bicyclopyrone ingredient together carry a tremendous amount of weight for taking down peskier weeds like water hemp, giant ragweed, and a few others. The Roundup is there essentially just to kill grasses in the field. Of course, you have multiple chemistries in here working on different sites of actions within target weeds. We do not want everything else to end up in the same boat that glyphosate is in currently. Once upon a time, Roundup or glyphosate would kill every single weed in the field. Roundup was used and abused for years. It was a single tank mix. No one put anything else with it. Eventually, the weeds just naturally formed resistance to it, and now it won't kill anything other than grass and a few odd broadleaves here and there. We're ready for our second fill of the day. This is a 220-acre field, so I have to fill up at least one more time. One of the logistical challenges of having a tanker like this is there's only so many locations on the field. Usually you can park it unless it's all surrounded by nice, gentle road ditches, which isn't always the case. So I'm just gonna have him stay here. I can always drive through the corn if I need to get to him. I say drive through the corn. I mean, I can straddle the rows. The sprayer obviously sits, so it sits in between corn rows. I wanted to mention after seeing all that nice drone footage is that the corn does not look nearly as good from that high aerial angle as it does here from the ground angle. It looks really thin. When you actually look across the rows here from down low with a different camera and different lighting, you can see we actually have a phenomenal stand of corn. It looks beautiful. Looks very barren from the air though. Second question I know people are going to ask is, am I hand steering this or what's going on? We do not have any kind of advanced row sight camera systems on this. I am just using the same guidance line that my dad would have to plant these rows, meaning that I am still subject to the variation that the corn planter had across the field as it was going. The actual John Deere sprayers, as well as the new Fendt rogators, actually have some sensing technology and cameras, maybe even lasers, that can see where the corn is and steer based on that. I don't believe that that's available on Hagees as of yet. It may be on the newer models. I'm not exactly sure. I do have row feelers for spraying fungicide in corn post-apply, just nothing really to help me here. I'm just pulling up what I assume is the auto steer line that my dad used, and then the tracks from both the planter and the side dress bar actually kind of grab the sprayer as it goes and keeps it in that groove. So for the most part, it stays off the corn. Since Jeff is helping me spray today, Chris is out mowing roadsides. Gotta keep up with those neighbors who make everything squeaky clean anyways. All right, we've got 2 fields done so far this morning. Big 220 acre field and then a 50 acre field right next to it. I just topped off for the 4th time, meaning Jeff is gonna head north to Helena to get another hot load of chemical that I need to call in ASAP. My 2-year-old son Lenny's gonna come ride. He loves anything farm related. Don't worry, the Hagee cab is above all the spraying, the filter's up high, charcoal filter, all that stuff. Nothing's getting in the cab. Are you ready to ride in the sprayer? Yeah? Did you bring some apple juice? Okay. Oh, is that one for me? Thank you. The full solution tank should balance this out. Crossing the ditch sure beats folding up. That's pretty easy. We gotta be careful here. Rumor has it this neighbor's a real jerk. That neighbor happens to be Lenny's grandpa, also known as Mort, also known as my dad. Like I said earlier in the year though, I was the cheapest custom application option for the farm. You get what you pay for. My dad is always very hesitant to change the way we farm fields just because we farmed in one direction for the eternity. We keep farming them that way. I just tried one pass crossways on the corn. It was kind of rough and I also didn't like running over the corn, but that is the way this farm should be farmed for efficiency. It's a rectangular 90 and we farm it short ways. It'd be a lot better to go that way, but I've changed my mind. I don't like running over the corn and being bounced around, so we're gonna go with the rows for now. Gonna be a little slower and less efficient, but I guess that's just the way it is. My solution tank is about empty, so I'm just parked here waiting on Jeff. Who knows how long it'll take him to get back. Sometimes you're in and out of Helena in a couple of minutes, other times there's a line 10 trucks long. It's almost like going to a grain elevator some days when they're busy. I'm sitting here on the end. It does offer the opportunity for Lenny to actually sit behind the wheel and hit some buttons. Everything's shut off so he can't spray or do anything bad. I try not to let him drive when I'm spraying because if he grabs the steering wheel, which he normally does, we'd be off the row in a heartbeat. So when we're doing stuff like this, he's got to stay in the passenger seat with Mom. Okay, Lenny and Allie just took off. We got another 75 acres sprayed, so it's time to fill up. Lenny's at an age where he can't sit still in something like that for very long without having to get his hands on it. The wind is definitely starting to pick up a little bit. The cutoff wind speed for most herbicides on their label to stay legal, usually about 15 miles an hour. I'm sure we're getting close to that, so I'll probably hop out after I finish this field and check and see what the wind speed is. The only other neighbors that I could possibly drift on right now is our other fields of soybeans, because we own and farm most of this in this area. I still definitely want to make sure I'm checking all the boxes correctly, so we will hop out. Pretty good work on that field. I show 85 acres in my system, sprayed 85.75. There's probably a little bit of overlap because I only have so many section controls. There's definitely areas where I'll spray twice just because there's nothing else I can do. I'd rather have double application when the section control is working against another cross-planted row versus it not spraying a spot. So rate's a little low, 14.66. I don't have it set right at 15 gallons an acre. That's about 2 to 3% low. Should be enough to still get effective kill out in the fields. Just don't want to run too heavy on this high dollar chemical. It's a big bill to pay at the end of the year if you don't get everything right when you're spraying. Didn't have to go far for the next field. It's literally a stone's throw away from the one we just came from. Okay, there's 2 things I want to do while I'm outside of the cab. First thing I'm going to do is hang my wind meter from the boom while I work on another project so we can get a wind reading. You're not going to get much more of a boom height reading than that right there. That is the level at which I will spray around the outside of the field. While that's collecting data, I'm going to look at my fence row nozzle. I made the mistake of turning it on while I was spraying around some holes in that last field. I was just trying to get a little extra reach up next to it so we didn't have to come manually clean it up with a backpack sprayer later. I thought I fixed everything. It appears to me that maybe my solenoids for the fence row in section is bad, because once I turned it on, it really didn't want to shut off. It wasn't putting out a tremendous amount of volume by any means, just enough that I don't want to inadvertently spraying here into the ditch. So I'm going to take the nozzle off and just cap it. Pretty easy to do. You just pop this off. Oh, you got to spin it the right way. There's your issue. Then cap it. I'm gonna have to probably replace both of these solenoids. They're not functioning right. It shouldn't be doing what it's doing. And for safekeeping, I'm just gonna put this size 6 nozzle I had on the end there, right there. May have to make some adjustments to our pre-emergence herbicide program. Right now, our program is zilch. There's nothing out here on most of our cornfields, which is why these small broadleaves are coming up, especially the water hemp. This Acuron GT with the pound of atrazine in it is more than enough to clean up these small water hemp, but I just don't know if it's the best management strategy possible. The optimal time to kill weeds is when they're emerging. It's basically not letting them emerge. We're relying really heavy on the Callisto and the bicycle Pyrone, which, like I said, will do the job. It's just not optimal to let your field get this weedy before you spray it. Okay, I definitely have an agenda here, but even I will say that's not the right wind speed. Surely it's more than 7.7. We'll try it again. It helps to get it flush with the wind, that way you get the full reading. 10.5. I'll let it stand here for another 30 seconds or so. I did get one real strong breeze that took us up to 14.3 mile an hour, which is still below the label maximum wind speed. I do want to be careful spraying, obviously. There's less room for error the faster the wind's moving. If I'm spraying next to soybeans like I will be here on the north side, I don't necessarily want to have my boom high or run super high pressures. You're going to prefer larger droplet sizes that come with the low pressures and less driftable fines, especially when they're your soybeans and you don't want to hurt them. I'd hate to have to come out here and replant beans that I killed. Okay, let's hop in the sprayer and knock out another 70 acres before the wind decides to get a little bit more extreme. On to our next issue, which I think I know what's going on. I'm running 11 mile an hour with size 4 tips. You're obviously going to run a higher pressure with size 4s because they're a smaller orifice size, meaning to maintain gallons per minute, you're going to push more through the nozzle the faster you go. So the issue I'm noticing is that even at 10.5 right now, I'm pushing 90 PSI, which is way too high. I am maintaining my target rate, which is 14.8. Like I said earlier, I'm running a little bit low to make sure I don't over apply. The issue though is that something is obviously obstructing my line. Now, if you've listened to anything I've said so far about needing to keep atrazine mixed, I almost would bet that we've got some atrazine in our mesh strainer. I didn't come up with that on my own. I called the Hagee guy and I said, hey, I'm spraying post corn with atrazine. He said, check your mesh strainers. They're probably full of stuff. Based on his recommendation, we're gonna shut everything off. We're gonna go check the mesh strainers. I always forget to set the park brake, which is what puts the ladder down. If you're out of the seat for long enough, it actually sets the park brake for you. So you can just be patient and it'll come down eventually. I hope all this water hemp's dead in a couple days. I hate seeing it. It's my worst enemy here on the farm. Well, that and hard work. You know, as a millennial, I don't like to work hard. Probably gonna need my gloves for this one. I believe this is my mesh strainer right here. It also looks like I need a pipe wrench, which I do not have. I might just go ahead and call my dad and have him bring me a pipe wrench. Brought my phone just in case. Gonna close these banjos. Hey, are you at home? Yeah. Can you bring my pickup down to the south end of north of the woods? Yeah. Okay, thanks. I have a big pipe wrench in my truck. I believe this is the mesh strainer he's talking about. Basically, you've got inline filtration systems to get particles that are out of solution. Atrazine is notorious for doing this. This is the main strainer for half of the boom. These are all my section controls for that half. I've got the same setup on the other side. I think I also may have an inline filter somewhere as well. You know what? I may not even have been turning that the right way. Doesn't matter. not going anywhere. Hopefully Jeff hurries because it's starting to get awfully blue and humid outside. I've got a lot more fields I want to spray today too. I'm actually making relatively good progress. Can't complain. I'm halfway through the field, so I might as well just drive to the road to make it easier. I was trying to pick an inconspicuous spot in case I spilled some herbicide. We've seen it happen before with Acuron with some custom application where if they accidentally leave their boom on in one spot too long, you're looking at 10 plus years of no crop. That's how strong the residuals are in this product. That's why you always keep a gigantic pipe wrench.
Maybe that is plugged.
Could be. There's a reason I'm over here and not in the middle of the field. Here's what they look like. Definitely a lot of obstructions. That white milky stuff is the atrazine, and there's some kind of debris in there. I have no idea what that is. Could have been in there all along. I'm gonna try and wash them off with my hand water rinse tank in the back. The hand rinse tank only got me so far. Jeff's just driving me home. We're not that far away. I'm just gonna use some pressurized water to get it out. Yeah, I think we got a rain coming one of these minutes or hours. Definitely gonna have to start keeping an eye on the radar.
Surely that'll help. Yeah, it will.
Well, those rains, they'll pop up before the radars can get them, and then that's blue, but it's to the north of us.
Yeah, well, that's the one where it was over north of Charleston. Got it cleared till 6.
Okay, add another big rinse to our floor collection, along with one of Lenny's French fries from lunch. Time to fire it back up. We'll know pretty quickly whether or not this fixed the issue, and if I put it back together correctly, because if not, it won't spray. Oh yes, that's more like it. I'm running 12.5 miles an hour, and my pressure is 55, not 100. I didn't even realize that my average application rate had fallen way off. I'm probably 4 or 5% below my target of 14.8, which means that that was restricting me quite a bit. Hopefully that's not an issue for weed control. That's probably been hindering me all day. I thought my pressures were high from the beginning. Okay, we finished the rest of that 70-acre field without much issue at all. The wind is not sped up. If anything, it's actually died off, which leads into our next concern, the nearing rainfall. Spraying with a rain nearby is a completely different animal than planting with the rain nearby. I'm gonna head over to the next field. We'll chat about that in a second. We got a pretty good run so far. Cleaning out the strainer burnt about 40 minutes, maybe 45 minutes of spraying. I'd already be at the next field if that hadn't happened. Oh well, those kind of issues pop up. It may just become part of my normal day or every other day routine to check those. The Hagee guy said that some people go to a larger micron filter if they're spraying atrazine to let a little bit more of that stuff through and out the tips, as opposed to it all plugging up in the filter. I don't know that I'm going to do that because I'd rather it plug the filter and I'll just clean it. I have found that sprayers are almost like cats. They can go anywhere. You can pretty much make an entrance or an exit as you please, as long as it's not a 10-foot deep drainage ditch. Okay, we're about 5 miles to the west. Jeff, my tanker driver, and uncle are staged and ready to go. It's definitely raining up to the north. I don't know how far away that is. It's also not concerning because the wind has been moving everything to the northeast, so that's way out of the realm of possibility of hurting us. It's whatever to the southwest that we should be concerned about. We talked to Kevin at Helena. He said that the rain safe, or the period of time you want to allow for the product to dry on the weeds without it getting washed off, is an hour. An hour is a pretty lengthy amount of time in our world. The conditions are like this outside. A rain can pop up before you know it. If a rain comes and washes off that Callisto, the bicyclopyron, and the Roundup off of those weeds that we're trying to kill that are already emerged, it'll basically be ineffective. Now, the residual aspect of all these herbicides won't be effective. As a matter of fact, the rain is usually good to kind of incorporate residuals into that top inch of the soil because that's where everything germinates. Growing weeds, though, need it to dry on the leaves. We also may have to foot the bill ourselves depending on how generous Syngenta is. Sometimes they'll pay for resprays, other times they'll basically say you're on your own. Once we get close to full, we'll shut everything off, we'll go to the field that's just down the road. This is a more ideal place to fill, and then we'll look at the radar. Don't want to overfill it on our nice graph, so we'll go ahead and open the agitation valve, slow the engine down, shut the fill valve off, move the air line a little, put some air in it. Okay, shut the air off. I didn't quite time that right. I did accidentally overfill a little bit. Chris is in charge of mowing this. I also may have happened to accidentally get some of his yard. I don't think he'll care, but it's one less spot he has to mow. Sight glass says it isn't all the way full. I wonder if I just pumped too much air pressure into it. It's the cost of portion out the line, I guess. Kill some grass. I'm getting a phone call from the boss man. I can only imagine it is a weather report.
Bring in 5:30 or 6.
Think so? 5:30?
5:30 or 6.
Okay.
It's getting close to 5:30, so.
Okay. It looks awfully blue to this.
Time to spray that, maybe 5.
Well, that's what I was planning on doing, but I'll have to get after it. Yeah. My dad's like our on-staff meteorologist. He says I got till 5:30, which is 2.5 hours. I'm going to check the radar really quickly. We are the blue dot right there. This does have a little bit of a future track. There is a little cell there that I'm afraid might develop into something. I need to just leave it alone so it can actually do its thing. Probably gonna go ahead and spray. He gave me the green light. That's all the authorization I need. That blue stuff I see may be this rain that's projected to go south of us about 15 miles. A good farmer never turns out an opportunity to race the rain. Although I need to finish much earlier than the rain because I don't want this to get washed off. We don't kill the water hemp with this pass. By next time, we may be coming out here with an axe to get him. I've been giving it my best shot. I've probably sprayed 60 acres in the last 20 minutes. I don't even know if that's possible. My meteorologist, though, seems to be about as good as the full-time ones. It's sprinkling, and that cloud formation to the southwest is not looking optimistic, although the wind has shifted straight out of the west, so straight west is about that way right now, and it's kind of looking like it's coming across, but I think that we're just having stuff pop up on top of it. I literally just pulled off of the last through I sprayed. I'm just kind of sitting here. A few raindrops is not a big deal. If it actually starts showering, though, we may be in trouble in terms of respraying this field. Oh boy. Yep, that was a misestimation on our part. Question is do you finish spraying this part of the field, get your residuals down, and come back to burn? I mean, it's not supposed to rain that much. How long is that? We got another 20 minutes to wait to see. We'll just call home base, see what they have to say. Of course, he's not going to answer. It's his money I'm wasting right now. You'd think he'd be a little more on call. I've made the executive decision that I might as well at least just put the residual down here on this north piece. There's another triangle to the east that's like 5 or 6 acres. I've got most of the field done. Like I said, I'll probably have to come back out here with some more Roundup and Callisto, maybe even just Callisto. That's pretty cheap. It's the residuals that really cost you money, and it's not like they get washed off. We won't be coming back out with Acuron GT. That's like wrecking your Porsche and then asking for a Lamborghini next. I had to call Tim Walsh, who's our Syngenta representative that we've worked with for years now. Great guy. Syngenta's a great company, and they honestly probably wouldn't warranty this. And I should ask him for a respray on the product that I'm currently spraying as it's sprinkling outside. Wouldn't that be kind of ironic? It's like planting beans in March ahead of a cold rain and just immediately calling your seed dealer saying, hey, I'm probably gonna need free replant on these. Now he calls me. I'd say your forecast was wrong. It's about to start raining. I've sprayed the 2 west fields. I'm probably just gonna sit here for a minute and see what happens, and then, I mean, it looks like it's gonna rain for sure. So, well, no, Jeff's here with the tanker. I can just park it at the bin, I guess.
I'd bring it on home tonight.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess I could. I'm gonna sit here, and if it starts raining, I'll leave. I'm just gonna, I've sprayed everything but the east triangle.
How long before it rains?
I mean, a lot quicker than you said. It's gonna be raining here in less than 5 minutes, I'm sure.
Okay. Let's see how far they're going on 32.
Okay, see ya.
Bye.
It's definitely raining within 2 miles to the south of us. It has not really started here yet. I've probably already used up all of my luck this season, so I doubt we're missing this one. There's no reason to end the fun just yet. I'm gonna sit here and wait and see what develops. I've left fields before and it not even end up raining. I'm not gonna make that mistake. Obviously, like I've explained, this is a completely different beast than planting. You get rained out planting as long as it's not a flood. It's not like your soybeans and corn are just gonna wash away. I also want to re-emphasize the fact that we're not going to lose any of our residual firepower. We just won't get the burn down we need. And we have a lot of water hemp out here and some other broadleafs and even some grasses that definitely need some control My only concern with the potential respray is the usual product is just going to be generic Callisto or Explorer. It is extremely cheap. It's like $1.50 or $2 an ounce, and you only spray 3 or 4 ounces. The issue with that is that you can only spray so much of certain chemicals a year without over applying and worrying about carryover into the next year. Callisto's one of them, and this Acuron GT has a pretty hefty amount of Callisto to start, so I don't know what our limits are going to be for respray. A lot of times they'll just throw Callisto back into respray because it's cheap and extremely effective. I hate to say it, the Group 27 HPPD inhibitor herbicides carry a lot of weight in the Midwest for corn herbicide programs. I mean, they do all of the heavy hitting. The atrazine, of course, is like butter. It goes good with everything, especially Callisto. At the same time, though, there's not a lot of good burn down products that you can spray on your corn. Another good product, although expensive, would be like a Safin dicamba. You have to have a safener because it will actually cause the corn to become brittle if it's not Safin. It'll take about any broadleaf weed down out in the field. But like I said, because it's a more niche product, the safener in it, it's a lot more expensive. You can spend $6 on Callisto and have enough to kill any single broadleaf out in the field, even the resistant ones to Roundup and a few other herbicides. You're gonna spend $20+ an acre for some Diflex or some kind of Safin dicamba. You know, it's kind of funny. I sit here and just talk about chemical names, trade names, you know, all these different herbicides and modes of actions, groups of action, sites of action. I would say a good amount of you watching this video probably have no idea what I'm talking about, because I'm really talking about intricacies that you wouldn't be familiar with unless you were in the herbicide business or the corn farming business. Now, how is the radar looking? Not great. Oh, we might get lucky there. No way that actually happens like that. Look at this. I'll show you the instant replay. Bam! Right on the north side of that big cell. I've skewed my perception of the rain because I parked with my window downwind, so I've got no drops on the front windshield. Now, my mirrors are wet, so we've definitely lost any product that's on the leaves of anything I've sprayed within the last 30 minutes. That last 70-acre field's probably fine, but this one, definitely no. It's not even raining now. Don't even think about it, Andy. Let's walk down here real quick and see if the grass is even wet. It may not have been enough to wash product off of the leaves of the plants, though. Just barely sprinkled for a little bit. Can't even tell it rained out here in the field. A little bit of moisture on the corn plant. Guess we'll have to wait a week and see whether or not this stuff worked. Someone's not having fun right now, because I know those guys down south don't need a rain any more than we do. Should we go spray the last 9 acres? I mean, the damage is done, right? What's 9 more acres? I found the perfect spot to spectate the rain, underneath my $400,000 umbrella. I knew there was a reason that this thing cost so much, so it blocked the rain for you. It's sprinkled on and off a couple times. I've just been sitting here watching these people maybe a mile or two to the south just get pounded by rain, and yet we haven't got a whole lot of anything. If this misses us, I'll probably give it another 5 minutes for the grass to dry off a hair. It won't take long. And we're gonna get back at it. If any of you in the comments below are a herbicide or chemical expert, I've got a question for you. One would think that if you pushed the pressures higher and got smaller droplet sizes, that you would actually reduce the rain safe time of the product. So if I saw the rain coming and I sped up, so my pump had to run faster, making higher pressures, ultimately resulting in smaller droplets landing on each and every leaf, more of a mist, theoretically, wouldn't there be more surface area per volume of water because the droplets are smaller, meaning that it dries quicker on the plant? I don't really know, but you would think that. They say that's what it's all about. It just needs to dry on the leaf of the plants. If any of you are experts in that domain, please comment, let me know. Sometimes you're the guy getting rained on. Other times you're the guy watching people get rained on. Sometimes you're the guy who needs the rain. Sometimes you're the guy who doesn't want the rain. We're the guy who doesn't want the rain, who's watching someone else get rained on. It's been about 20 minutes. Here's the radar. We're just still sitting right north of all these storms. Not really seeing what I like. I've got 8 or 9 acres to finish here. Other than that, I mean, I got a whole long list of cornfields to go spray, but I don't know if I really want to gamble on that. We've got good weather after this rain moves through, so I may spray this last little triangle and just go home for the night. There's always something with Mother Nature.
Hello?
This radar's too hard to judge what's going to happen, so I'm just going to spray this triangle and go home.
All right.
So you can go ahead and go home. If that pump's still running, shut it off.
All right.
All right, see ya, thanks. Okay, there you have it. Just really too difficult for me telling this radar what's going to happen. There's no need to gamble. Forecast is dry, so spray this last field and go home. Fortunately, I do have to fold up to get to it. I told Jeff he could go home and he disappeared like the Roadrunner. Just a cloud of dust and smoke behind him. He's gone. I wonder how much rain they've gotten to the south. It has been raining that hard down there this entire time. It's not even rained enough to show up in a rain gauge here. They've probably had a half inch down there by now, surely. You want to talk about being tucked away in a garden spot? Right over there is what I've just sprayed, and it's still not really rained much. I may have actually skirted by and got the rain safe on it. Still have a little time left on that, but for the most part, we're probably all right. We've been watching this spot to the south for the last hour and a half continuously get rain, and then you look over to the east where home is, and it looks like they're getting a lot of rain right now. Pretty heavy one, actually. Glad I got all those fields sprayed. So much for a few tenths of rain. Shoot, we probably had a quarter inch already. I may not have to work tomorrow. Although it is going to be Saturday, I'm actually not excited about that because I've got a lot of fields that need sprayed pretty urgently. Weeds are getting big. Bigger they get, the harder they are to kill. Find a nice cozy spot out of the way to shut this thing down for the evening. Obviously, it's a tad bit on the disappointing side that we got rained out, and hopefully our products we've applied are fine. I guess we'll know within the week if the weeds aren't dying. We're going to be respraying. On a completely separate note, it's a bad choice to turn down a rain in May. You always take the rains you can get, so long as your fields are not flooded. Other than our fields getting a little bit weedier than I'd like, it's hard to have too many complaints. Crops look good, both corn and soybeans. Side dressing on corn should be winding down pretty quickly. They knocked out another huge chunk today, so there should not really be much left on the list for them to do. Of course, we still have a good handful of corn spraying to do. Then within another 2 weeks or so, we'll be thinking about spraying our soybeans. Time flies when you're having fun and you're in a sprayer all day. I think I've already hit on it one time this video. I'm actually really starting to enjoy spraying. It's actually kind of fun. To be fair, I've not had any major breakdowns. The inline strainers getting plugged up is probably just the cost of doing business. As an applicator and the owner of this sprayer, I should probably know to clean those out, and I do now. Sometimes things just have to happen for you to know what you need to keep an eye on. It's exactly like the lesson I learned early on in this season with the boom breakaway. I guess if you hit it too hard, it breaks and you have to replace the cable and the chains. Who knew? I did manage to get about 500 acres sprayed, a little more than that actually. I was hoping to get closer to 1,000. I was realistically on pace to get 800 or 900 if we hadn't had the strainer issue, as well as this rain moving in. I spent every bit of an hour and a half or 2 hours at that last 70-acre field just waiting to see what the rain was going to do. I'd probably be on 750 acres by now, and we still have a couple hours left of sunlight. It's difficult to take a whole lot of credit for all the acres I got covered first thing. When you can almost spray 400 acres without folding up, it's hard not to get a lot done. We'll jog up the road to Dad's and check his rain gauge, see how much we got. You know what? I take back everything I said. They were right. 1/10 of an inch of rain. Okay, I don't recommend what I'm about to do, but I'm feeling a little ornery. I know Dad will come check this rain gauge relatively shortly, and I know on occasion he's done it to other people. So we're just gonna kind of 2 inches. It's not even remotely believable. He'll call me later and ask if I did that. If that was our only rain gauge, I'd never do that, but I know Jeff has a rain gauge, so as long as we have one that's accurate, that's all that matters. It does look like it rained more than 1/10 of an inch. That'll be dry by tomorrow morning. We'll be spraying again. Okay, leaving the scene of the crime as quickly as possible. Just a matter of time before I get a phone call. I did get confirmation from Dad that Helena's done side dressing everything except for our fields over at Lerna. They may have gotten a little bit of a heavier rain over here. Take that with a grain of salt because I thought we had more than 1/10, but that's all that was in the gauge at Dad's. In terms of nitrogen, you can't really be all that upset after putting a huge rate down, side dress, get some water to push it deeper in the soil. No, you don't have to worry about volatilization. This field ought to be in good shape. Based on the way the radar's looking right now, we may not be out of the woods yet on this rain. We'll have to wait and see what tomorrow brings for that one. If it shuts off right now, I may still be able to run tomorrow. If not, it could be Monday before I'm at it again. Looks like I need to find a phone charger. Before I let you go, I wanted to give some perspective on the fields I sprayed today. As I mentioned just a little bit ago, most of them were in the same area. You can see here on the John Deere Operations Center, this field, this field, this field, and this field were the first 4 I sprayed, totaling over 400 acres. Then I loaded up and went 5 miles to the west. I watched the rain as I sprayed this 70. I was hoping to move down here to this 80 next, and then I was gonna work my way east. I had another large chunk of ground over here to spray. That's a song for a different day, I guess. I'm not saying the John Deere Operations Center is the most practical piece of software to have. Obviously, it's free. I'm not sure that it provides a ton of value. It's hard to argue, though, that it isn't neat. It is awesome seeing all your farms in here. In terms of things we need to add, I probably would not have an issue getting a 1,000-acre day in if I had a dedicated full-time person to drive my tanker. Jeff's not technically the one who's supposed to drive the tanker for me, although I'm not sure I have anyone who's supposed to drive it. This is kind of the complicated logistical and employment part of the sprayer, is that the point of never having a sprayer in the first place is because none of the other people at the farm wanted to mess with it. I'm the only one who wanted to do it. Everyone else is saving a tremendous amount of money because I'm cheaper in custom application costs, and I'm passing along all the chemical savings. At the same time, though, I need someone to drive my tanker. Probably need to look into getting a full-time employee. It would be hard to justify because we're pretty well staffed as is. Arguably, you could always stand to optimize each employee better. All of our employees are family, though, so it makes this all very complicated. I'm not saying it'd be that much of a stretch for us to bring someone on full-time, especially given that a majority of our workforce is pushing into their mid-60s. Some of them are getting closer to 70 with their rotator cuff just redone. My dad. Regardless, it's going to be something we're going to have to look at moving forward. For me solely to pick up the bill on a full-time employee, I'd probably have to pick up some more acres. I don't solely generate enough revenue to justify a full-time employee. I might be able to find a retired person to drive my tanker. That's spotty at best, and you'd have to find someone pretty reliable. It's hard to beat the family help who knows exactly where everything is, and when you say some slang term for a field or a road, they can get there without much explanation. In a roundabout way, I just need more acres and income to justify an employee. We pick up a large chunk of acres, we're gonna need bigger combine. We get bigger combine or combines, then we're gonna need another grain cart, then we're gonna need another semi, then we're gonna need more employees, then we're gonna need more acres, then we'll probably need a bigger sprayer at some point in time. I mean, it is literally a self-perpetuating cycle of expansion, but that's just business. Anyways, that's a topic for a different video. I'm gonna take off and enjoy this nice rainy Friday evening. I greatly appreciate every single one of you continuing to tune in and support the channel. Your viewership means the world to me. Catch y'all in the next episode. Until then, make sure you like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and comment down below if you have any questions. You know I love to talk about farming. Have a great day, everyone. Peace!